Well, ladies and gentlemen, it seems the tide is turning against Disney. America Chavez, co-creator, declines Marvel's insult of an offer for Doctor Strange 2. Writer Joe Casey, who was offered a pittance ahead of his character's big screen debut, is speaking out in hopes it would help other creators. There are still systemic flaws in the way that creators are neither respected nor rewarded. Now, I did a piece yesterday where I discussed Deadline, throwing major shade at Disney, and they did. Huge shade at Disney, in fact. It was a massive surprise that they'd come out and said any of that stuff. They basically they singled out Bob Chapek and said, hey, look at all these other children's films that have done really well. We know you're just doing it for Disney Plus subscribers. You know, you sitting there saying families don't go to theatres anymore is nonsense. It was major shade. It was huge shade. And now I could log on and I see Hollywood Reporter doing the same thing. I mean, this is mild criticism at Marvel and Disney. I get that. But mild criticism nonetheless comes few and far between towards Disney and Marvel. Now, Disney is on a massive decline at the moment, mainly because they're going against what most American parents want, which is, of course, autonomy over their children and to be involved in their children's decision-making and future. Now, that obviously comes in the form of Florida's anti-grooming bill, which people have mislabeled Don't Say Gay, because no, it's also nothing about heterosexuals either, up until a certain age, which I think is, you know, any sane person would be fine with that. So, you know, Disney is on a huge decline. It's interesting to see it, and it's interesting to see these pieces come out against them. So let's take a look, because this is, again, mild criticism, but criticism nonetheless, which is few and far between. So when director Sam Raimi's Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness arrives in theatres May 5th, audiences will meet America Chavez, the Marvel comic book character brought to life by young actor Ms. Gomez. Ahead of its release, the fan favourite Heroes Edition has already received praise, with her inclusion seen as a win for representation, as she is the rare Latina superhero in the Marvel cinematic universe. I mean, that sounds awful, as she is the rare Latina superhero in the Marvel cinematic universe. There must be more. Weird, isn't it? Just wheeling this person out. Look, we've got a Latina. I'm surprised they didn't call her Latinx. That seems to be the thing nowadays. Everyone's a Latinx. Anyway, so for comic book writers Joe Casey, seeing Chavez soar to new heights is bittersweet. Casey is proud of his work on America Chavez and what she represents, yet, like many comic book writers before him, Casey feels a tinge of regret. Watching his creation take off without him being meaningfully compensated for it, Casey has not received a payment for America Chavez outside of the page rates he got when working for Marvel as a writer, when he and artist Nick Dragotta introduced the character in 2011. Casey rejected what he describes as a pittance of an offer ahead of Multiverse of Madness. He was offered $5,000, or around that amount. I mean, that's pretty shithouse. Now, Casey speaks out for the first time about his compensation. He's cautious not to sound aggrieved. The writer says he hopes going public will help other creators receive better terms when their work is turned into films, streaming, and action figures, which I think is a perfectly reasonable statement to make. The fact is, Marvel owns America Chavez. That's not in dispute on any level. But there are still systemic flaws in the way that creators are neither respected nor rewarded, Casey tells the Hollywood Reporter. Marvel Publishing declined to comment, noting it does not speak out on individual creator agreements. Although I guess you could say it's an argument as well. During his time at Marvel, Casey never signed any paperwork regarding the character, though he understood Marvel owned anything he created. Now that's interesting, isn't it? Never signing any paperwork. I mean, that's bad. Casey's work at Marvel dates back to the 1990s, with credits including X-Men, the Hulk, Iron Man, the Avengers. He has since earned success as one of the creators of the popular Ben 10 animated franchise, which gave him first-hand knowledge of how even the smallest amount of profit participation can add to significant sums for creators. Thanks to merchandising and licensing deals, members of his entertainment company, Man of Action, also negotiated with Marvel for the 2014 Disney animated film Big Hero 6 and received more favourable terms, which, as Casey notes, shows Marvel can make these agreements sweeter for creators should it choose. Well, of course they can. But they're a business and they choose profit. But still, we can see that it's not great for creators. I'm sure we can all agree with that. Now, it's interesting, several years ago, when he learned that Marvel was going to be using America Chavez in Doctor Strange, he contacted the publisher to ask for paperwork, which would basically just cover previous appearances, animated TV episodes, and video games. Basically saying, hey, look, can we just get some paperwork sorted out here? Because, I've never signed anything. This is my character that I created. Obviously, it's yours, but can we just, sort this out? Perfectly reasonable. I mean, he makes characters now, and he would understand the process. Marvel Publishing sent over a special character agreement for him to sign that included a cash offering, but Casey ultimately declined to sign this special character agreement because he said it was a pittance, and his lawyers expressed his dissatisfaction with the offer. Though Casey declined to say how much Marvel offered, the sums for other creators' agreements is said to be in the $5,000 range. I mean, that is piss poor. Though a source on the Marvel side disputes that figure, saying they're generally higher. Marvel is, of course, not legally obligated to pay creators when their work is adapted. I get that. But, I mean, come on now. You'd think that they probably would. However, it's customary for them to invite creators to movie premieres and give them cash compensation for appearances. And you know why? Because fans of the character like the people that created them. So it's probably important to keep them happy as well, because then you keep the fans happy. Now, Casey's not received a counter-offer, though Marvel source notes that conversations are ongoing. But obviously, if there's no counter-offer, there's no ongoing conversation, is there? Now, the writer, Casey, does feel that the company's stonewalling him, and he's frustrated that there's no transparency as to how Marvel arrived at the offer number, which, yeah, you'd think that they would break it down. I mean, if it's such a low number, how did you get that? Can you please tell me? Marvel has paid me nothing for America Chavez, not only for appearing in the Doctor Strange sequel, but in numerous animated TV episodes, for the numerous action figures they've made for her, for video games she's appeared in, and they seem to be fine with that. It's an issue of morality, I guess, at the end of the day. But again, remember, this is Hollywood Reporter. This is mainstream bloody media saying this. It's pretty big. It's pretty big. Now, I like how they note about DC in this. So they talk about former DC president Paul Levitt. Now, he spoke about The Dark Knight. He said Christian Bale liked looking at Tim Sale's work before he would go out and strike a pose. I'm not sure how you value that, but when you have a movie that is as successful as Batman Begins or Dark Knight, it says that there's something there, and you should say thank you in some fashion. Nice. Best way to go. Now, Casey does continue, and he says, for me, it's not about the money, because he's got enough. It's not even about the respect. I would never expect to be respected by a corporation. Agreed. And that's what I love this, because I would never expect to be respected by a corporation. Ladies and gents, please, when they say they respect you and they're promoting whatever, monthly cause is hot on the agenda, this month, just remember this. I would never expect to be respected by a corporation. They don't care about you. If I'm in a position where I can afford not to take their insult of an offer and be able to talk about it, maybe the next guy, where that kind of money could change their life, would get a fair shot at receiving that money. So it's basically just about changing the system, which I like. I think that's fine. I think it's really good. Now, he also notes, I'm a happy guy, I'm not disgruntled, I'm not bitter, because I know this is how this goes. I also know this is how you change things, by talking about it. So there you have it, ladies and gents. Just a quick little piece there. Again, more shade being thrown at Disney. The tide is turning. Let me know what you think down below. Do you think he should get more? $5,000's nothing. Yeah, I mean, he's obviously got enough money now. He created Ben bloody 10. They're mental in terms of the income on that. That's insane. But let me know what you think down below. If you're new here, do hit subscribe. Thanks so much, ladies and gents. Have a great Sunday. Take care.